Nina Turner, you have a new podcast.
I
Hello,
do. Hello,
somebody.
somebody, John. Hello.
Tell, tell
Somebody.
us about it.
Yeah, that refrain became famous at a rally that I did in Queens, and I was just feeling this thing, this whole, as you know, and many of the TYT viewers know, I have this call and response that was born from my years of service in the Black church, having a mother who was a preacher and made my siblings and I go to church 8 days a week. And I was just feeling that thing in Queens that day. And I just said, hello, somebody. And the crowd responded. So hence, Hello Somebody is born. It is a podcast. It's weekly. Please go to wherever you get your podcast and also Patreon as well. If you want to become a supporter of the podcast, you can do that. It debuted on Juneteenth. As we all know, that is a day of symbolic freedom for the African American community that has been celebrated for generations, brought to fore by a lady by the name of Mother Opal Lee, who has been pushing to make that a national holiday. I thought, what a great day, the juxtaposition of freedom that my ancestors got to the freedom or lack thereof of Black folks in America today. My first guest, however, is the one and only Michael Render, aka Killer Mike, baby. So if you are a Patreon member, you already have access to that. If you are not, if you are somebody who has subscribed to my show, thank you so very much. You will be able to hear that episode on Thursday. But please join and please support. They can follow me on Twitter at Nina Turner, on Instagram, Nina Turner, Ohio, and Facebook, Nina Turner. Hello, somebody, because everybody, baby, is somebody.
So, I mean, the fact that you had Killer Mike on as one of your first guests gives us an idea of sort of where you're coming from. But I'm curious, like vision-wise, looking forward, who are some of the people you want to talk to? What are some of the goals that you have for the podcast? Like, how do you tie it into the fact that you've worked with a number of different organizations. You're always pushing for change. How does this podcast play into like your life's work?
The goal is to really give voice to working class people in this country, to tell stories from that frame. And even some of the people who will be on my show who are more famous, they have that frame, they have that connection, and they truly understand. To have Michael Render first, Michael Render was an activist before, in his words, before he ever started dancing a jig. And I'm quoting him, and you'll hear him say that on the podcast. He has that connection and those Southern roots to what it means to organize and to be in fellowship with people trying to push for justice. So certainly we'll have him on. Dr. Cornel West, who has been laying it out, John, as you know, all over this country about the choices that we have and that push and what justice looks like in public, to quote him, to people like Susan Sarandon and to other folks. Phil Agnew, one of the co-founders of the Dream Defenders, he just created a new organization called Black Men Build, for Black men to be able to have a space that they can talk to one another and guide one another. So this podcast is going to speak life into people in very much the same way that I continue to do, that I've always done, but especially on the campaign trail. So I want folks to join us. We're going to walk together. And again, as I said before, everybody is somebody. And John, I don't want people to forget that, because sometimes we get caught up in fancy titles. Titles are good. Don't get me wrong. I got a few of my own. They get your phone calls returned. They get you in rooms. Titles are good, but I firmly believe purpose is better. And that is what Hello Somebody is about. Purpose.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.